All right, so we'll get started, and if anybody pops in, I'll let them in. For those of you I don't know, I am Michelle, and I am an energy healer and a soul empowerment coach. And really, my goal is to just help people step into their power and take control of their life, especially those that are feeling stuck or are like just merely existing, going through the motions of life. I spent so long living this way. I spent most of my life not believing that I had any control over anything. I felt very powerless. And not only that, but like I spent all of my younger years feeling very pessimistic and very negative and judgmental and all of those things. And it just affected everything. And truthfully, I lived unhappily for quite a while. So as I've been talking to people lately, well, let me back up for 1 second. So fortunately, I was able to change this through a lot of self-work, through some self-study, but also through some like really loving and amazing coaches and healers. I have been able to leave that part of me behind and step into this empowered version of myself that I'm hoping will help so many other people be able to do. All right, we have someone popping in here. So as I have been connecting with people a lot, either through work or just friends or acquaintances, I am seeing that a lot of people are struggling lately. That feeling of stuckness is there, that feeling of a lack of control, of like life kind of dragging them along and them not feeling like they have much of a choice in it. It seems to be everywhere, and it's not a certain age range, it's not a certain demographic. It's just I'm getting that a lot of people are struggling right now, and so I wanted to try to help, and that's why we're here tonight. So let's just check in with the comments. Jennifer had a Reiki session with me this morning. We got to spend the beginning of our day and the end of our day together. Donna, thank you so much for the lovely compliment. Suchi, I'm so happy to see you. Your first thought was to meditate. That's great. That's how I always start my day. And welcome. If you are just joining, you can feel free to introduce yourself in the chat and just let us know where you're from and maybe how your morning started. I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to be referring to my notes because this topic, I could go on and on and on for hours, and I can dive down those rabbit holes. So these notes are to keep me on track so that I don't have you here until like 11 o'clock at night, which I could. So let's start with a couple of questions. See if we're all on the same page here. Have you ever lost time because you've been so deep in your thoughts? This could be while you're driving, anytime you're doing something that doesn't require mental energy, you're like just in your head and you're thinking about the past or you're worrying about the future, and you drive for an hour and you get where you're going and you're like, oh my God, I don't even remember how I got here, because you spent all that time in your head. Feel free to throw comments in the chat if any of this resonates with you. Do you often replay those conversations that you've had and think, oh, I should have said it differently. I should have said this. Why didn't I think to say that? And really kind of picking yourself apart with past conversations or past experiences, things that you can do nothing about now, but you spend a lot of time thinking about how you could have done it differently. I don't know if you've ever done how do I want to describe this? The doom prophecies, where you just imagine these worst case scenarios for situations that really have no basis in reality whatsoever. Quick story. several years ago. This was actually quite a while ago. We were going to New Hampshire for our family vacation, and I was kind of thinking about how in the mornings I would go for walks and it would be really nice. And I'd bring my son, who at the time was fairly little. And, I ended up having this full blown start to finish thought about encountering a bear on this walk and having to sacrifice myself for my son's life and how that was going to affect him for the rest of his life, having to witness this to the point that I was almost in tears. And it may sound a little funny and like silly, but I would do this all the time and just bring myself to such a dark place. And then you're in that place and you're like, it's hard to get out of, right? You just feel stuck. And one more is, do you often replay something like, for example, you had a rough night's sleep. You watched the clock tick by hour after hour after hour. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but I remember actually replaying how my night went over and over again so that when I got to work, I could repeat it to everybody that was interested in listening and even those that weren't. And just like, remembering the hours that I saw on the clock and remembering and telling myself over and over again, just how tired I was going to be all day because I didn't get any sleep. And it was literally a story I was telling myself over and over and over, right? So how do you think your day is going to go if you're spending your time thinking about how tired you are? Chances are you're going to be tired, right? Oh, thank you. Yeah, it happens often. The doom stuff. It's scary because in those moments it feels so real. It actually takes you to that emotional place. So tonight, what I want to do is I want to help you take you step by step through some ways to actually take control of your thoughts, right? To get you out of your head a little bit and create some space so that you're actually living in the moment. Because when we're heads down in our mind, like taking that walk outside and we've just walked for 30 minutes and we've missed the entire thing, we're not living in the moment, right? We're not taking in the nature all around us and the way that the sun is shining on our face and the smell of the flowers and the sound of the birds. We're missing all of those moments that are actually happening, and we're spending all of our time in our head. So I want to try to help you tonight get out of that place so that you can have those moments. You can enjoy the moments in life. And honestly, the only moments that you can do anything about are these moments, the exact moment that you're living right now. So you're missing your opportunities if you're spending all of your time in your head. All right. So feel free to pop any questions in the chat. Like I said, I could go on and on with this. We have a short amount of time. I'm going to try to provide as much value for you tonight as possible. When we get to the end, I'll let you know how we can work together in the future if that sounds good to you. All right, I would like to do a quick little exercise. So I'd like you to close your eyes if you will. And I would like for you to just take a moment, take a breath, and I would like for you to think about something that has made you very, very happy in the past, a memory of a time that you were ecstatically happy. And I want you to just sit in that moment for just a minute here. I want you to think about how it feels. I want you to let your body do whatever it wants to do. If you want to smile at this, if you want to laugh at this, I want you to allow your body and your mind to fully experience it. Okay, now we're going to etch-a-sketch it. You know those etch-a-sketch. We're going to shake that memory out. And now I would like for you to recall a memory of something that made you very angry. Keep in mind you're in a safe place right now. You're not experiencing this at the moment, but a memory of a time of an injustice or someone treating you badly, something that happened that made you incredibly angry. And again, I want you to feel this in your body. Allow your body to do what it wants to do. If you want to clench, tighten, jaw tighten, make a fist, feel it. Okay, let's clear that one away. I want you to think of something incredibly sad, something that has been significantly upsetting and sad for you. Again, keeping in mind you're in a very safe space at this moment. I want you to feel that as vividly as possible. Okay, let's shake that last one away and let's go back to that very happy thought we started with. Let's go back to that fantastic memory, that really happy memory that you have, and just spend a moment in that again. If anyone would like to share any kind of experience in the chat, feel free. But what I want to point out with this exercise, and you can open your eyes and come back to me, is that your external world did not change during that exercise. You sat in the same place, in the same environment, and there was no actual activity happening around you. But my guess is that you experienced physiological experiences with that. Maybe there was a tear, maybe there was a smile, maybe there was laughter or a chuckle, maybe there was a clenching and a tightening when you thought about the anger. This is the power of thought. So, if you take for just a moment the thought of living in a disempowering thought and carrying that with you and repeating it day after day in your mind, how do you think you will experience your life? I'm going to pause there for 1 second, and I'm going to let you, if you have any comments, I'd love to know if you actually did fully experience anything with any of those thoughts. So I'm going to take you through 4 steps this evening. I found it more difficult to locate and relive the happy than the sad or the mad. The sad or mad popped right into my head. We as human beings are conditioned to, it's easier. It's easier to be in a bad mood than it is a good mood. It's easier to sink into the darkness than it is to dwell in the lightness, unfortunately, right? Because it's like a natural inclination in us. I don't know if it's part of the survival of the human race, and that it was, we had to focus to stay alive way back in the beginning. We had to focus on the negative. We had to be super aware of all of those harsh things going on around us. And so it's like imprinted in our DNA that we focus on the negative, and we focus on the difficult times, and we focus on the hardships, right? You won't truly experience life if you were always in a negative mind space. Yeah, absolutely. So that's what we're going to work on tonight. I'm going to take you through 4 steps to actually getting out of that space and getting out of your head a little bit and taking control of your thoughts. So our very first step is awareness. We can do nothing about any of it if we're not aware of what is going through our head day after day after day. So there are probably things on a loop that go through your mind. And it may even be something like, I'm exhausted, I'm worn out all the time. You know, I think motherhood is often that it launches into this chronic, like, doing kind of, you know, I'm always worn out, mom guilt, you know, all kinds of thoughts that are just churning in your mind over and over again. One of mine was, I don't have a choice. And this affected everything in my life. Every decision I ever made or not made came from this belief that ran through my mind that I didn't have a choice. There were things I was supposed to do, and I didn't have a choice. I have to do it. That was something that ran through my mind over and over again. So, is there something that chronically runs through your mind? It's probably more than one thing, right? So, my suggestion for awareness, and I'm going to tell you, this is going to be the hardest of all 4 steps. It seems really straightforward. You just start paying attention to your thoughts, right? Most of us have been living with our thoughts being unchecked for a really long time, right? We never question them. They're just there. They pop into our head and we go with it. We go with what is coming through our minds. So overwhelmed. Yeah, that's a frequent thought that goes through your mind, right? And because you're telling yourself you're overwhelmed, your mind is believing you and it's saying, okay, so let's make it overwhelmed because you're telling me that you're overwhelmed. I have no time to do this. Time is a really, really big one. It's something I've actually been working on lately. And it's interesting when you change the thought process, which we will get to, how you see how limiting some of these things are for us. That makes me I'm making you overwhelmed, Jennifer. Sorry. I hope not. So it is going to be difficult. This takes practice, but through the course of tonight, we're lifting a veil for you. And so there are going to be times when you're doing this work where you think, oh, it's just easier to be stuck in the negative and like not have to even think about my thoughts. You know, you're going to be like, why did I even go to that stupid masterclass? And why did I even listen to her? But I'm going to tell you, ultimately, the good of this is going to far outweigh the bad. And when you have that control and you can make positive changes in your life from that control, it will well be worth it. So we just saw the association between our thoughts and our feelings. Our thoughts feed our feelings, which then feed our behaviors and our actions, which then feeds our outcomes. And then our outcomes go back and feed into our thoughts. So it's a cycle. Pay attention to your feelings. When you are annoyed about something, instead of just sitting in that annoyance, you can ask yourself, why is this bothering me so much? Why is this person bothering me so much? What's up with this situation? I am really, really angry right now. Why am I so, this doesn't seem like I should be this angry. Why am I so angry? Curiosity is going to help you start to dig into your thoughts and why you're thinking them and finding the underlying current behind it. If you have a behavior that you don't understand, that you don't like, and you wish you didn't do anymore. For example, I was a TV-aholic, right? I sat down at the end of every day, and that was my zone out time. It was like my me time. It was like, I'm done thinking, I'm done responsibilities, I'm done chores, right? Now I'm just going to sit here for a few hours and have the TV on. Nonsense television, Real Housewives, every one of them. And it bugged me. Like I would watch TV and be like, I want to be one of those people that's like doing all kinds of fun things, like not sitting here for 3 hours. And Suchi, I'm not claiming that you're a TV-aholic either, but part of why I dove into this is because I wanted more time. I wanted to open up more time to work on my business stuff, to work on myself. And I thought, I don't have this time. Where am I going to find it? And then I realized you spend about 3 hours at the end of the day doing nothing. So yeah, it's an escape, right? So I started to think about, why is this my go-to, right? Because I could be doing yoga, I could be reading, I could be doing all these other things that I love to do, but why Is it my automatic sit down and that's my only escape? I know it's not my only escape. And I realized that my father came home from work, a long day of work, and he sat down in his recliner in his chair every single night and he watched television. So I associated that in my mind with after a long day's work, you come home and you plop down in a chair and you zone out and you watch TV for the rest of the night. So without any effort whatsoever, I have not watched television since January 2nd, I believe it is, because I figured out the thought that was underneath that action. But you have to dig for it, right? So when you have an action that you don't like, maybe dig into the reason that you have that you're doing that behavior. What's the thought behind that behavior? What does it stem back to? Let me just check my notes, make sure I covered everything here. So this is, like I said, very difficult. This is something I actually work on a lot with my clients in the coaching program because there's so much here. I mean, think about it. When you start to think about this, there's just so much, right? And I think it can be a little bit difficult in the beginning to even start that process, right? To even think back and figure out where that stuff comes from. So, this is the whole first third of the coaching program really goes to like this working through our thoughts, etc. Does anybody, I love these comments. Then you feel guilty. Yeah, that guilt. So that guilt is also telling you something, right? That guilt leads to another thought, right? So why am I feeling guilty? What is this about? What about this is making me feel guilty, and why, right? And ask that question why over and over again till you get where you're going. Okay. Any questions on this part here? I know I'm throwing a lot at you. This is definitely going to be like you're going to have questions and work to do underneath all of this. So that's step number 1. Step number 2, you are in control of your thoughts. What I'm about to say is very, very important. You control your thoughts. They do not control you. You are allowed to question your thoughts. You are allowed to tell your thoughts to go away. You are allowed to challenge your thoughts. Now, I did not know this growing up and all through most of my adulthood. I assumed that every thought that came into my head was just reality, right? It was kind of that like, I don't really want to say that I had a fixed mindset, but I didn't, again, it goes back to that lack of control, right? I think I take this approach. I deserve this. Yeah. That's a thought, right? So I want to talk about 3 kinds of thoughts tonight, specifically to what we're talking about here. The first one I want to talk about are disempowering thoughts. These are going to be your limiting beliefs. These are going to be your excuses. They're going to be your fears. They're going to be your comparisons to other people. They're going to be your judgments. They're going to be your shoulds and shouldn'ts, and they're going to be your can'ts. These are the thoughts that are tied to something, right? They're disempowering you because they're stopping you from doing something that you want or living in a way that you want to live. And these are going to require some of your effort, your energy, your attention. They may even require someone helping you go through them, right? Because it can be quite a process. But these are definitely things that you need to tackle so that you can move beyond them. These are not the kind of thoughts that you can just set aside, right? They're causing you to not be living the way that you want to live. So these are the ones you're going to spend some time. You're going to maybe do some journaling around. You're going to dig deep. You're going to go back to your memories and you're going to go back to your early experiences, and you're going to figure out why you think that. Oh, no problem, Jennifer. Thank you so much for coming. And yeah, I'll send the recording out tomorrow. Thank you. So you are definitely going to want to spend some time on these thoughts, right? Some of the questions you can ask is, why am I thinking this? Where did the thought come from? Is it actually true, right? So this is part of that challenging. Not everything you think is true. It has so much history attached to it. It has so much conditioning attached to it. So it may not be based on reality. This kind of thing happens when you think that somebody else is mad at you because of their reaction to you. What you're missing is that they're going through something else right now and they're distracted, or it has absolutely nothing to do with you, but you tell a story in your head that they're mad at you. And so then your reaction is based on you believing that they're upset with you. And that's just a small example. So take some time with your disempowering thoughts and start to dig into those a little bit. The second kind of thought are the ones that serve no purpose. So my bear story at the beginning, when I was talking about, this fantastical, not based at all in reality of life. And if it did happen, it'd be like, you couldn't even prepare for that if it did really happen. You don't need to engage with these thoughts. When you're replaying a conversation over and over again, that is merely for the fact that you're picking yourself apart, that's a waste of your time and your mental energy. And you are allowed to say, thank you for pointing that out, but I'm not interested. I will very often actually talk to my thoughts as if they're another person and tell them, I appreciate you popping in, letting me know that. No, thank you. Not going to engage with that one. These, again, look like, sorry, I'm seeing spots from my ring light. I can't see my paper. It's the replaying. This might be that like anxious mind. It might be that worried mind. I was a worrier, an intense worrier. And if you stop and think about it, worrying has never changed an outcome. There is a kind of thought that can help, and that's coming next. But worry, chronic worry, has never actually made an impact on an outcome. It has only messed with your energy, messed with your vibe, messed with your emotions, etc. You're allowed to say, that's not helpful to me, but thank you. I always like to thank my thoughts. It's okay. I can be nice to them and cordial. Okay, so the third kind of thoughts I want to talk about tonight are the thoughts that are providing you information. These are those little like whispers that are telling you that you should really do something that you're supposed to. That like, go to the doctor, this doesn't feel right. Check in with that person, something's going on there. It's those like whispers that are coming from your intuition. And these thoughts want you to take action, and they're going to continue to take up space in your mind, even if it's subconsciously in the back of your mind, until you actually take care of them. If you are resisting these thoughts, look for the disempowering thought that is lurking underneath it. So for the doctor, just as an example, not feeling right. Yeah, but what if you go and they tell you that there's something really wrong with you? Better not to even find out. That's the disempowering thought. But your body and your mind know that there's something going on there. So that's going to stay in the back of your mind, and it's going to keep playing with you, and it's going to keep popping up. And now you're in a conflict with yourself. And so you're causing yourself distress because you know what you're supposed to be doing because it's good for you. And that fear, that disempowering thought, is butting heads with it and causing an issue. So those are the 3 kind of thoughts I wanted to talk about tonight. Engage with the disempowering thoughts. Those deserve your attention. But set time aside for those. Set space aside from that. You don't need to be like running through your disempowering thoughts all day, every day. It'll drive you crazy. Set some time aside to sit down with your journal and work through some of this stuff, to do some guided meditations, to do that kind of stuff. Second kind of thought, bye-bye, I don't need you. You've just freed up a whole bunch of space. I know it seems easier said than done, and I'm not trying to make it sound flippant. I know what worry feels like. I know what anxiety feels like. I lived through so much of it, and it requires constant. That's not helpful. That's not serving my highest purpose. Please leave me alone. But eventually, it does. I'm telling you, it does. And those third, the ones that are giving you information, just take care of that stuff, and then it'll free up that space for you. So we've now freed up a little bit of mental space, right? When we've gotten rid of some of those thoughts and we've tackled some of the other things. And it's empowered us a little bit. And it's, allowing us some of that space to be able to be living in the moment a little bit more. So I think we're at, number 3. I am probably, what time did we start? 7:30. Okay. I might run a little bit over. If you need to jump, I understand. I will absolutely send the recording out tomorrow, so don't feel bad. Does anybody have any questions for me at this point? Is everything making sense? Am I annoying you? Sorry. Disempowering thought. I still get them all the time. Step number 3 is to cultivate a mindset. So this is when you're actually going to start to guide your thoughts into the person that you want to be. You're going to start to mold your mindset into what you would like, what is going to be empowering for you. Part of this is to release, or at least quiet down, maybe mute the influences in your life that are feeding the mindset that you don't want. So if you find that you tend to navigate towards the negative, but your friends or your social media is filled with people that are complaining, that are judging other people, that are, whining about things, that kind of stuff. If that is what is going through your filter day in and day out, it's affecting you. It's affecting your mindset. It's affecting your thought process. I went through a very deliberate, a few years ago, cleanse, I'm going to call it, on my Facebook. And I basically muted everybody that was providing the kind of feedback that I didn't want to have for myself anymore. And I actually cultivated, I started following the people who were providing the life and living the life that I wanted to be living. So I started to follow these really empowering people and these really positive people. And then that turned into more spiritual people. And now if you look at my feed, it's like healers and, it's just all of what I want to be surrounding myself with. And every once in a while, some of those things will pop in. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Better late than never. I mean, why not change it right now, right? I've been working with my mom a little bit. She's been thinking this way for a really long time, and she is definitely not a believer of things being able to change. And I see it happening a little tiny bit every time I talk to her. So definitely better late than never. So really start to cultivate that mindset that you want to have. Start reading books, start with affirmations, start telling yourself the thoughts that you want to believe. This is a whole other topic that we could go into, all about manifesting and law of attraction and all of that stuff, but we won't go down that rabbit hole tonight. But just know the power in your thoughts and the power of the thoughts of those around you. So what you want, go out and look for the people that are living that way and surround yourself with those people. And have that one positive thought every single morning. Be deliberate about it. Be intentional about it. When I wake up, my first thought, very first automatic thought is usually, oh, I'm not ready to get up yet. But I catch myself and I'll say, I'm grateful for this morning. I'm ready to go. I'm happy for another day. It takes effort, but the results of that effort are like far greater, I think, than just that stuckness and living that straight way that you were before. So you just make sure I caught everything here. Yeah. Affirmations, guided meditations are very helpful. There's all kinds of tools for those now. I listen to affirmations very frequently. I'll even tell you, so my son is not really a believer in all of this stuff. He's my very like grounded, very like logical person, and he calls my stuff voodoo stuff. He's 13. And yet I meditate every morning. And this year he started the high school and he has to leave earlier in the morning. And so what we have found is this pattern where he gets up a half an hour early to come downstairs into the room I'm meditating in, where the candles are lit or the incense is going, and I have, the healing sounds on, the healing music. Maybe it's a guided meditation, maybe there are some affirmations some days, and he'll lay down. He thought it was the Voodoo Masterclass. That's what he would call it. I'm not kidding you. Every day, get away from me with your voodoo. My daughter, on the other hand, is like a mini me. She's like, Mom, I was talking to my spirit guides this morning. I kid you not. Last week, she told me that her spirit guide's name was Vanessa. So there you go. He comes down and he lays on the couch with me for at least 20, 25 minutes every morning. And he's never said like that he's doing this on purpose. He has ADHD. I am not saying that this is the whole reason, but he has come off of his medication this year, completely off of his ADHD meds. And he has had a stellar transition into the high school. He leaves every morning very calm. And when I was doing Gabby Bernstein's manifestation challenge, he would come home and tell me all the things he was manifesting during the day. So there is something to it, even for those who resist it. I'm telling you. This brings us to our fourth step, which is the very first thing I coach people on. It's the very first thing I point to, and that is gratitude. It is very simple. You just start training your brain to look for the things that you're grateful for. It may start off very, very small. It may be that you're grateful for like these super big things in your life, your home, your shelter, the food on your table, your spouse, your children. Those are all great things to be grateful for day in and day out, over and over again. Some days it may be a tough day, and it may be that you're grateful for the cup of coffee that's going to keep you going for a little bit, or the sun that's finally shining after a week of rain and clouds. And then this miraculous thing happens with gratitude. First of all, it's a huge cultivator of mindfulness, right? This awareness. It's a practice in mindfulness of living in that moment, right? You cannot be grateful for something that you're not actually like experiencing in full. But the more you are grateful for, the more you will have to be grateful for. It multiplies. It's like magic. I swear to you. So now you find yourself going throughout your day, and all of that, the negative thoughts, the complaints, the meanness to yourself, right? All of a sudden starts to get slowly but surely replaced with, oh, look at how pretty that looks right now. What a gorgeous day it is. I am so grateful that my son gave me a kiss on the cheek before he left for school today. All these little things, all these moments become big moments of appreciation. And when you're living in this way, you're living happily. I am so grateful for so much on a daily basis. I direct my gratitude towards God, towards spirit, towards my spirit guides, whoever I think is pulling the strings at that moment. For me, that adds a little bit of extra oomph. I'm like directing it somewhere, but it's not necessary. And maybe you have your own thing, your own higher power or thought of where that gratitude can go. But it is the quickest way to get you from a bad mood to a good mood. Sometimes it's hard. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes, I have a gratitude journal, and sometimes it's like, I don't even know what to say today. But again, it's a practice. All of this is a practice. All of this is something that you want to be doing and doing day in and day out. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes and the more beneficial it becomes. And before you know it, you're looking back and saying, that's the person I used to be. And this is the person I am now. And, again, with intention and thoughts, I have a free resources page on my website, and I did an intention setting meditation. So feel free to hop over and check that out, download it. And it's really about deciding how you want to feel about certain areas or certain days or whatever you're focusing on at that moment. Be deliberate in how you want to feel about it, because it all starts with your thoughts. So if you tell yourself that you want to enter this feeling peaceful, there's way more of a chance of you getting through it feeling peaceful. And even if not, being able to pull yourself back into that peace than if you just go at it with no intention whatsoever. So I have thrown so much at you. I hope it wasn't too much, but I also hope that it was a lot of helpful information. My coaching program, we talked about a lot of this. All of this actually falls into the coaching program, the one-on-one coaching program. But there's so much more than that. We go into processing your feelings. That is a really, really important stage, as we talked about back when we were talking about becoming aware of your feelings and how your thoughts and your feelings interact with each other. And then we get into a whole lot of fun stuff like, finding the gifts that are going to make up your purpose and having fun along the way and loving yourself and finding community that fits with this person that you want to be. It's all very empowering. If you are at all interested, check it out on my website. Book a call with me if you want to get some more information. There's no obligation. I have a couple of specials this month. One is taking $200 off of the coaching program. And then for anybody who joined this masterclass tonight, I'm taking an extra $50 off. So I just wanted to throw that out there for you, but check out the website. Join my Facebook community if you haven't already, Instagram, and I also have a private Facebook group where I do a lot of these guided meditations and special offerings for just that small community as well. And let me just see if I caught and covered everything I wanted to cover. I think I did. Does anybody have any questions about all of that information I just threw at you? Anything that seems practical or impractical, something that you're like, yeah, that sounds great, but no, thank you. And I didn't do too bad for time. I'm only 5 minutes over. So excited. Yes, very good. Thank you for saying that. So number one is all about awareness. It's starting to pay attention to the thoughts that you're having, and how those are playing out in your life, and what they're doing to your feelings and what they're doing to your actions. And it may not be linear. It may not go thoughts to feelings to actions. Maybe you look at that action and you backtrack it and think, what's the feeling driving this? What's the thought driving that? So number one is awareness. Number two is that you actually have control over your thoughts. And that may look like you're starting to question them and you're starting to challenge them a little bit. And some of them you're just dismissing altogether, right? No need for this thought. I'm freeing my mind. I don't need it. Number three is going to be to then start to cultivate your mindset. So that's going to go to your like overall everyday living. It's going to lead to your like empowerment and how the person that you actually want to be is going to come from that like mindset that you're now cultivating. And number four is gratitude. Always, always gratitude, as much as you can be grateful for every little thing. That is absolutely going to help with the mindset. It's going to help with the awareness, and it's going to help with the controlling of your thoughts. So those were the 4 bullet points. I am so grateful for all of you for being here. This was so fun for me. I hope it was worthwhile for you. I will send out an email tomorrow with the recording and links to my website and all that other stuff so that you can check that out if you want to. And I'll let you know about, I'll include the information about my specials and stuff like that. And in case you want to book a call. Thank you very much for joining me. And I wish you all a beautiful evening and so much empowerment and control going forward. Good night. Thank you. Thanks, Suchi. Thanks, Donna.